If you're building AI products right now, welcome. This is really the only explainer you need to mentally map out the underlying technology. So instead of thinking about a large language model as just another piece of software, I want you to completely shift your perspective. Think of it as hiring a brilliant but entirely untrained new employee. I mean, this new hire has literally read almost everything on the internet, right? But they know absolutely nothing about your specific company, your users, or your goals. So today, we're going to explore the build framework, specifically how to establish the base, upgrade their skills, and ultimately lead them to success.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll meet your new AI employee. Then, we'll look at the limits of their AI brain. Third, we'll look at the power of RAG, adding AI memory. And finally, writing great prompts.
All right, Section 1, meet your AI employee, the base model. Okay, so before we start giving this brilliant new employee any fancy advanced tools, we really have to understand their foundation. This is the base in our build framework. And every generative AI model out there basically demystifies into 3 simple steps. Step 1 is the input. That's where the model receives your prompt, which sure could be text, an image, or even audio. Step 2 is processing. The AI takes that prompt and analyzes it against this massive sea of patterns it learned during its training phase. And finally, step 3 is the output. Based on those specific patterns it identified, it generates brand new content. That's it. That is the fundamental loop. Because at its heart, this incredibly complex technology does just one unexpectedly straightforward thing. It predicts the next word in a sequence. It's essentially the world's most sophisticated autocomplete. It doesn't actually know things the way you or I do. It just calculates the highest mathematical probability of what should come next based on the patterns it's seen before. Grasping this simple truth, that's absolutely crucial. It's the key to understanding both why AI is so incredibly powerful and, well, why it sometimes fails so spectacularly.
Moving on to Section 2, the limits of AI, or the bottlenecks in the brain.
So our new employee might be fantastic at predicting words, but we have to remember 2 things. Their knowledge is completely frozen in time from the day their training ended, and they lack inherent agency. If you look at human psychology, we have what's called System 1 thinking. That's your fast, intuitive mental autopilot, right? Where 5 plus 5 instantly equals 10. LLMs excel at this. They can instantly fix a typo using that fast pattern matching. But they historically struggle with System 2 thinking, which is deliberate, multi-step reasoning. If you ask them to quickly edit a paragraph, they're absolute geniuses. But ask them to build a complex 3-year product strategy, yeah, they'll likely hallucinate a really beautiful but completely illogical mess. Now, you might be wondering, when they struggle, why not just feed them an entire encyclopedia of contacts to help them out? Well, look at this number, 4x. Processing time and cost do not scale linearly. They scale quadratically, meaning if you double the size of the text you feed into the model, your processing time and your API costs increase by roughly 4 times. It's kind of like a teacher grading essays. Grading a 1-page essay, super fast. But grading a 20-page research paper isn't just 20 times harder. It takes vastly more time because that teacher has to cross-reference arguments, check for consistency, and hold all that context in their head at once. The AI faces the exact same computational bottleneck. And because of that massive cost and speed trade-off, as product builders, we have to be really strategic. You need specific product context strategies. You've got to consider things like chunking, which is breaking large documents into smaller, manageable pieces. You need selective context, where you're only feeding the AI the most critical information, maybe just prioritizing the beginning or the end of a prompt. You might even use hybrid approaches that blend smaller windows with traditional search. Ultimately, it's just a constant balancing act between user experience and cost. You have to manage that signal-to-noise ratio so your AI employee doesn't get totally overwhelmed and, your budget doesn't explode. Let's jump to Section 3, the power of RAG, giving them a library. Okay, so we know our employees' knowledge is frozen, and we just learned that dumping 1,000,000 pages on their desk is going to bankrupt us. So we start the upgrade phase of our build framework by giving them a library. We do this through Retrieval-Augmented Generation, commonly known as RAG. Instead of crossing your fingers and hoping the AI somehow remembers your company's specific vacation policy from its general training, or trying to stuff your entire massive employee handbook into a single prompt, RAG acts like a highly intelligent filing system. The AI dynamically searches your private knowledge base, pulls out only the relevant paragraphs, and uses that exact specific information to answer the question. Here's how a basic or naive RAG setup actually works in practice. First, document chunking. You shatter massive technical docs into bite-sized paragraphs. Second, generate embeddings. You translate that text into pure mathematical numbers or vectors. Third, vector storage. You simply store those numbers in a database. And finally, the query phase. Imagine a user asks your AI, hey, how do I initialize a database connection? The system grabs that question, converts it into a number, finds the mathematically similar chunks in your storage, retrieves just those specific instructions, and hands them to the LLM to formulate the absolute perfect answer. But here's the catch. Naive RAG is basically just a fancy version of hitting Control F on your keyboard. It's just looking for direct keyword matches. Advanced RAG, on the other hand, completely transforms the entire process. It uses intent classification, actually figuring out if the user wants to take an action or just learn something. It uses entity recognition to spot specific product names or dates. And crucially, it uses query rewriting. If a user types in vacation policy, advanced RAG might automatically rewrite that search behind the scenes to also look for paid time off and holiday allowance, so it absolutely does not miss the answer. It understands what the user actually means, not just what they typed.
Section 4. Adding AI memory, giving them a notepad. So, your employee now has a shiny new library, but unfortunately, they still have amnesia. Imagine asking for an update on the Thunder project. The AI has absolutely no idea what that is. So, you explain it's a secret launch code. Then, in the very next meeting, you ask about Thunder again, and the AI has already forgotten. They are literally treating every single meeting like it's their very first day on the job. To fix this, we give them a notepad, using 4 key memory types. Buffer memory stores the immediate conversation history. Summary memory is awesome for long chats because it periodically condenses older details to save space. Entity memory tracks specific user details, like, say, a preference for bullet points. But the real game changer, that is knowledge long-term memory. This is a persistent, fully searchable database. This right here is exactly how you allow your AI employee to accumulate the institutional tribal knowledge that human employees naturally build up over time. All right, our final section, section 5, writing great prompts, which really means being a better manager.
We've upgraded the employee's brain, we gave them a library, and we fixed their memory. But at the end of the day, your AI employee is only as effective as the instructions you give them. To be a better manager, you should really lean on these 6 core prompting techniques to ensure predictable, high-quality outputs. First, prime the role. Literally tell the AI, you are an expert market researcher. Second, set the stage. Give them the background context of your specific project. Third, pick your playbook. Don't just ask for an interview guide, ask for one based specifically on the MOM test methodology. Fourth, show it greatness. Provide actual examples of past work that you loved. Fifth, ask for why. Force the AI to explain its reasoning so you can uncover any hidden assumptions. And sixth, shape the output. Explicitly state the format you want, like ask for specific calculations or graphs if you're doing an NPS analysis.
Well, we've stripped away the magic today, and we've really looked at the mechanics. You now understand their base capabilities, their cognitive limits, how to upgrade them with RAG libraries, how to give them persistent memory, and how to direct them with expert prompting. The technology is already here, and quite frankly, it's just waiting for direction. So the only question left for you is, how will you manage your new AI employee? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time. If you're building